batang labas ako. Dati, favorite time of the day ko yung 3 p.m. Kasi alam ko, yung kapitbahay ko, nakasilip na rin siya sa bintana. Ready na siyang magyayayang maglaro sa labas. And most of the time, you'd see us running around the streets. But sometimes you'll also see us running back home kasi nadapa at may sugat. Now that we're older, nadadapa pa rin tayo. Di po ba? Pero hindi na sa laro, pero sa buhay. And we get emotional wounds, worry, anxiety, sorrow, exhaustion, grief. What do we do with those wounds? Instead of running to God, our Father, who can heal those wounds, we try to keep them instead. Because we feel like we don't have the time to deal with these emotions. We feel like we're too busy to face them. Or it's too painful right now. I'm not ready to face these emotions yet. So we try to run away from them. But the reality is, as we run away from those wounds, as we delay the processing of those emotional wounds, it leads to further infection. And eventually, it will harm us. Eventually, it will harm the people around us. Let God heal your wounds. Don't suppress it, but instead, process it. How do we do it? In Psalm 42:1, it says, "As a deer pants for water, so my soul pants for you, O God." The psalmist there was desperate for God's presence. He knew that God is who he needed. The truth is, our God is not one call away because he is never away. He never left your side. He's always there and he's always ready to listen. So the first step to processing your emotions is to run to God. He's the one that you need. I'm not saying you don't need people. In fact, people are helpful if you can't find yourself running back to God. You have to have reliable people around you who will point you back towards Him. And in fact, if you're going through deep emotional trauma, I would even encourage you to visit a psychiatrist, preferably someone who knows God, to lead you to God. But the first step and the first one that you need to do is to run to God. Verse 3 goes on like this. It says, "My tears have been my food. I've been crying day and night." We don't only run to God, we have to express what we feel. Say this with me, pwede akong umiyak. Pwede kang umiyak. Somehow the world teaches us that we're not allowed to be sad. We're not allowed to grieve because that's a sign of weakness. Pero pwede kang umiyak. Ilabas mo lahat ng emosyon mo kay God. The psalmist, after crying out his emotions to God, he said, "Why are you downcast, O my soul?" He's talking to himself. Bakit ka nalulungkot? Why are you so disturbed within me? Hope in God, for I will yet praise Him. Yes, you can feel your emotions. Yes, hindi masamang maramdaman yung mga emosyon natin, pero masama pag pinaniwalaan na natin yung mga kasinungalingan na kasama ng emosyon natin. For example, hindi masamang malungkot sa family problem, pero masamang maniwalang wala na silang pag-asa. Hindi masamang ma-broken-hearted, pero masamang paniwalaan na wala ka ng worth kasi iniwan ka. Hindi masamang ma-discourage at malungkot kasi may financial problem, pero masamang isipin, paniwalaan na pinabayaan na kayo ni God. You're allowed to feel your emotions, but don't believe the lies that come with it. Third thing that we have to do to process our emotions, we have to combat the lies with truth. And from my personal experience, this is what I do. I have a tip for you. Maybe you can try it out. I went through this difficult time just last month. And there were some days that I would just cry. I think an entire week, I was just crying every day. Praying, crying to God. I was doing the first 2 steps, but I missed the 3rd step. And I realized that I was going in circles. I realized that I was exhausted from crying. I didn't want to keep on crying. And it's because I wasn't combating the lies with truth. And so I started it again. I do this thing where I write a table on my journal. On the left column, I write there my feelings. You can try it out at home. And this part is rough because mauungkat mo lahat ng negative emotions mo eh. You can take breaks in the middle. Just give yourself time and be honest with yourself. Just admit those emotions. Put them into writing. List everything down, all your thoughts, all your questions. Write them down. But afterwards, you just don't let them be on the right side of the column. You write there, God's truths. Yes, this is what I feel, but this is what God is saying about those feelings. Yes, this is what I feel, but God has a promise for this. Yes, this is what I'm thinking, but maybe that thought is not right because God says this is the truth. So we have to process our emotions with truth. And eventually, believe it or not, after I did it, the week after, I was at peace. I had joy in my heart because I was holding on to the truth, no longer holding on to my emotions. You see, healing is not an overnight process. It's slow. But God is with you, and He wants to journey with you. Process your emotions with Him. Combat the lies with truth. Let God heal your wounds. Don't suppress, but process them.